Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Blessings, blessings, blessings. Make sure you guys are out there stocking up food, canned goods. Learn how to grow your food. Save water. Very difficult times are quickly approaching. And remember the year 2030. They've already got the full entire infrastructure for this market to beast system. Don't forget, accepting that mark, which is the digital ID, will result in the loss of your soul. You will perish. You will not be able to reside in the kingdom of heaven. At that juncture, those spirit gluty cheeks will be a sizzling. I cannot stress that enough. Those spirit cheeks will be a sizzle-a-zon. So, turn away from sin. Get close to God. Hedge yourself in His protection. Pray. Fast. Be vigilant and be aware. Be careful who you be around. Be careful of the quote-unquote day ones who left you to die, left you to rot, or have never really been there for you in the first place. You might have always been there for them, but they'll never be there for you, not even in the slightest bit. You can't rely on them for anything. I mean, in their mind, they act like they have true to life presidential status, and they don't. You're just glorified nobodies with an agenda. We forgive them though for their treachery, but at the same time, you got to be careful who you be around in these times. Got to be careful who you tell your business to. You got to be aware of every little thing, every movement. Watch the animals. Animals will tell you a lot. They will help you too. Trust and believe that. Be aware of the spiritual signs. Stay away from those who contain the love of money in these times. These are very dangerous people to be around because they will sell out for the almighty dollar. They will accept payment to keep tabs on you, to follow you around, and to play the spy game. Knowing they ain't got no tradecraft skills, but they'll portray the role of spy agent for that payday. Nothing good comes from that. What these individuals fail to realize is, in doing that, you're sealing your own fate. You don't want to do that. You need to rethink what you're thinking. It's crazy out here. Get you a water filter for emergency drinking water. Have you a go bag ready. With your essentials that you're gonna need. Have some MREs in there. Have a change of clothes. Have whatever EDC items. Your weaponry. And I'm not saying I'm just saying for the immediate, things are going down, have that bag already packed, ready to go, with your most important things in there that you can carry and disappear with the Jimmy Swiftness, Times are going to get very hard. People are going to turn on each other because of fear. Anyone in these times, in this day and age right now, still trying to hold on to the American dream, thinking that, you got the 401k and your job is, you sealed in there, These are not the people to be trusting. they don't contain the slightest inclination that, the world is never going back in that direction. And these people refuse to wake up, And in the name of they gotta go hard in the paint for them and theirs, you can bet your sweet Johnny Gluteal that they will sell you out for $1. They'll hand you over to the enemy for the slaughter. Crazy times are coming. They're already here. Take this time and really get yourself in all the way together, mentally, physically, spiritually. Get together with like minds. Those of us who are out here who've been being persecuted for quite some time now, the chances of us having a team or, a few people that we could have, we can coexist with is going to be next to impossible. We're going to have to solely rely on the Most High. I mean, we're going to have to do that anyway. But there are few of us out here spread across this, the world who are going through a specific set of circumstances that defy the imagination. I mean, there was a person, one time I was at the library, this individual shut my phone off. Like, one of my stalkers shut my phone off. Because, see, what I would do, I would talk to him. But see, I was in a different mind frame back then. I was looking at this from a strictly tradecraft perspective. So, like, my tactics were a little unorthodox. Because I'm just never been scared of anything. At the time, I didn't know. I knew it was deep, but I didn't know how deep, like spiritually deep. Then they were sending card readers at me like Indians, like West Indians. People like that, people, that psychics. I mean, these are the type of sending witches at me, warlocks and honeypot traps, like you name it, it was sent my way. And the Most High God still brought me through. I've been poisoned, I had a dinner with a person I thought was a friend. Whole dinner and then stomach issues started, It was a pain like no other. The way women describe giving birth, that's what that felt like, that pain. The description that they give, without an epidural, and that was the kind of pain I went through. And then my body just spit it back out, and I knew something was wrong. The last time I had a feeling like that was when I was in Denver, when my ex-wife poisoned me. She was sent into my life too. And then I can't even find legal record that we was even married, and we got married the legal way that, the world does it or whatnot. There's no record of any of that. She's a ghost, and she's done this to a few different people, destroying from within, the old Sun Tzu method. So be careful who you allow into your life in these days and times. Because, people are out here wicked. They are out here with the wickedness. And they are ready to annihilate you because you love Christ. They know they are goners. It's going to be charred gluteal region in their immediate future. Smoking hot gluteal is going to be served on the menu. All because they refuse to turn away from sin and turn back to God. Do not get that digital ID, whatever you do. Do not let these words fall upon deaf ears. Getting that digital ID, your soul is gone. Abracadabra, you are gone, buddy. There ain't no coming back. So believe me, you don't want to do that. Those of you who do the fear and cowardism, okay, you'll accept it. Now, you'll still be able to participate in society and strive for that white picket fence narrative that you so desperately want, which pales in comparison to the streets of gold in heaven. I mean, come on, we're talking about streets of gold. Like, come on now, it don't get no better than that. And that's just the tip of a very, 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 very high iceberg. So, keep it thorough, keep it truthful, keep it real. Keep it to the Most High God in heaven. You got to. It's the only way. I've been through so many things in my life just like the next person. And I've been through things that, and it's funny though, like going back to my original point about being careful who you allow into your circle. People who grown up with you know when you're right, because they know you and they know that you're gonna, in the most thorough manner, thorough and extensive research is upon thee. You're all about that, and they know that. When these individuals, once you had to let them know that they were in on certain surveillance systems and certain stalking elements. Now it's they try to play you crazy because they gotta deem you psychologically ineligible, inadequate. He's psychologically inadequate. So once we can get that label on an individual, now we can really begin the dissection process of their life. They've tried to throw me in the psych ward, and it's a mandatory 72-hour hold. But the Most High God was like, too much sinister stuff going on with this one. So we're getting ready to release him in an hour. And that's what happened. When I chased away one of my stalkers in Dallas, they went and called the police. So I had the whole shebang on video though. So because they couldn't find anything to charge me with, they tried to stick me in the psych ward. And and what's sad to say, it's always your own kind that are quite abrupt in trying to make sure you get destroyed. You know what I'm saying? They're the first ones that want to aid in the destruction of your life. You, the individual who's prides himself on staying out of the way, being there for those that need it, helping people you don't even know because you genuinely have a good heart. You care about the communities of the world. You're not living this hood facade that they've done forced down everybody's gullet to accept. And then at that juncture, the dumbing down process began. You know what I mean? We were once a people of moral high ground. And now we're just looked at as a bunch of buffoon idiots. It's not right. A lot of things ain't right. Then every time you try to excel to the next level, you try to elevate, then here comes destruction. Here comes the monkey wrench in the game. Here comes the traitor, the Judas experiment, if you will. It's a challenge. It's a challenge to have to live like that day after day. The minute you leave your house and go handle anything, you've got the paparazzi, if you will. I remember I said that to a Fort Worth police officer one time. I said, so what am I supposed to do about the old paparazzi? Because see, me, like I said, the way I handle the whole thing, they've never seen anything like it. And I could always tell by their expressions, their mannerisms, their body language. You never dealt with an individual like me, I guarantee it. But we're all unique in our own ways. But some people be so jealous. People who's got way more than you, but they jealous of you because they ain't got that extra, you know what I mean? They don't got that, God has blessed us all with gifts and abilities. But, you gotta be in your purpose. You know, some of us, you know, we are a regular 9 to 5 is just not going to get it. It's not going to cut it. You know, I don't speak the slave language, so I don't, you know, things are as they are, but God blesses me abundantly. You know, and those of us who are going through these specialized, unique circumstances along the lines of stalking and just invasion of privacy at the highest level, the individuals who are getting paid to partake in that, you know, if it was happening to them, they wouldn't know what to do. They would go crazy. They would be brain boggled, you know, but they're going to get theirs. You don't think the Most High God is going to avenge his? Come on now. Especially when you guys have, you know, some of us, you know, have had our kids kept away from us since they were young. Court date passes after court date, and, you know, they've just got everything just, you know, and all they've done is hurt the children and raise the children under, you know, fictionalized pretenses. Now they're thinking one thing their whole life, not even understanding this was a whole satanic agenda, you know, that kicked it all off. You know, some people have been framed for crimes they didn't even commit, you know. And every time when all hope seems to be lost, that's when the Most High kicks in the extra overdrive and you know, he saves his. You know, so we got to give the proper just due to the Most High God, instead of sitting up here glorifying these rappers, glorifying these numbskull style of idiots on the internet, you know what I mean, when nothing in their conversation is ever about the Most High God. They, you know, and then you got these individuals out here who they twist certain components of the word, and then all to try to place themselves in a position of superiority, or like they some type of all-star, all the while the whole entire conversation from their gullet is consistent with that of worldly matters. We got to do better. We have got to do better out here. You know, I don't consider myself having any enemies. But, you know, we've got covert enemies though. And they're satanic. They are demonic. They got Ouija boards. They be doing rituals, seances, and they be a part of all these evil matters. Praises be to the Most High God in heaven. Protect us, Father God, from every last bit of evil. There are some difficult times coming. Start unplugging from the matrix, from the worldly aspects thereof. Start unplugging from the world and plug into the Most High. Get that boost of energy. Come and get you some of this, some of that Most High. Get that. And everything else, you know, the peace of, there's nothing like the peace of God. There's nothing like it. Especially if you're an individual, you've went through the fire. There's nothing like the peace of God. You know, I was in a horrendous car accident back in 2008. Didn't think I'd be able to walk again. You know, and then in the process, I was trying to save a would-be friend who was nothing but another agent for evil. You know, and the things that were going on back then, I couldn't understand why he was doing this. You know, I was looking at it from a worldly aspect, but then once I was re-educated again out of the many times in which I've been re-educated throughout the years, come to find out, you know, first of all, we almost both died in the wreck. Then he tried to sue me when, bro, the only reason we was even in the vehicle is because I'm trying to help you. And and then I'm not gonna get into the rest of all that right now, but I almost died. You know, this lady was like, Satan had my life claimed, had our lives claimed that night. But here we are. But he's still alcoholic. His health is not good at all. That's why I praise God, because it could be so much worse. And I'm healthy. I'm